Hello, Internet, and welcome back to episode 49 of Kent at Your Own Risk, where Kent, Kevin, and Chris are going to be talking about the finale of the Phantasm series, Phantasm 5, Ravager, and probably shoot a little shit afterwards. Kent, why don't you bring this one home for us, buddy?
Yeah, so as we were just kind of discussing, I was the idiot that's like, hey, I'll just do part 5 and you guys do the other ones. And I guess it was because I've seen this movie. I kind of knew what I was getting into. This movie, I feel it's safe to say this movie can be interpreted a few different ways, perhaps. I would go so far as to say this is almost just as much a drama as it is a horror movie in some weird ways. It's weird, but I think the most difficult aspect of this is, prior to this one, I think the most difficult aspect of writing blogs and reviews of this stuff was, trying to keep track of time frames and what's real, what's fake, and the other biggest thing was, when Jodie was the ball versus when Jodie was a person. Those were the things. But here, quintessentially, I'm not even going to go like chronological order. The crux of this is that we have 3 or 4... I think we have 3 different timelines happening here, if I'm not mistaken. We have Reggie in the desert up to meeting Dawn. We have war-torn Red World, and then we have World where Reggie has dementia, is in a hospital and shares a hospital room with the tall man, potentially. And I'm not even sure if that really happened. And I'm not sure what... At the end of the day, you could make the argument that Reggie is just a crazy fucking none of this happened. Because of the way that it ended, but then, if you go by the way that it ended, maybe we are in the red fucking world. So, we know that, story-wise, Reggie comes out of the desert, some asshole steals his barracuda, and that was a really fun setup. Probably the most fun aspect of this whole movie was that scene where, Reggie pulls out the gun and strips the guy down to his banana hammock and, leaves him. And I thought to myself, based on where they were filming, that poor dude had to lay on that hot-ass pavement. That couldn't have felt good. Just couldn't have. Moving on, he meets Dawn. Dawn brings him to her house, which doesn't have the normal architecture of the Phantasm series. And he's into her, but she's definitely not into him. She may have had second thoughts about inviting him up, but, he was happy making a song about a woman whose name he forgot. And she also has a Bulgarian farmhand named Demeter, and the next, after the nighttime stuff, she comes down, he's sleeping, she covers him with an Afghan. The Afghan was really nice looking, by the way. Next morning, Reg goes upstairs, sees, spear Cuisinart in her head, and, he's going to get attacked. Him and Demeter, they hang out in a barn, they see a horse get gotten. That was a pretty graphic scene, quite frankly. It was one of the more graphic scenes of the franchise with the horse. There was I don't know if you want to call it comical. It was interesting how they did it where Demeter swatted a sphere, and I don't know. I think what we were led to believe is he swatted the sphere into Reggie's gun, and it ricocheted off the gun right back at Demeter and got him in the throat. Is that how you guys interpreted that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Demeter gets gotten. Gosh, I don't remember much else from that particular timeline, there might have been more. I don't know. But
that basically ends at the point where he's walking through the woods and he sees the giant sphere overhead, and then he sees the two portals right in front of him.
Yeah. Okay. So then we have like Red World, which is basically what, I think, when they see the portals, they see the Red World, they see, like, I don't know, they're kind of calling them aliens, whatever. Like, the spheres have taken over, the Tall Man's taken over, there are some people rebelling, Dawn, who now goes by the name of Jane, and this little dude named Chunk come and rescue Reggie. He was on like a table or gurney. He was getting tortured for, I don't know, information. Interestingly enough, the two things that were above his head, I was saying like shock treatment, but those two cylinders looked like miniature versions of the portals. Anyway, they rescue him, and throughout tons and tons of flipping back and forth in time, we find out that Mike he may not be in charge of this rebel group, but he definitely has some sway. He's there, and they try to make their escape. There's some random bullshit going on, and there's like a fucking... There's obviously fights and whatnot. But it's kind of cut in a really weird way. And they do make it out of there eventually, not all of them alive. But I guess that kind of goes towards the ending here. Anyway, you have that. You have that world, and then you have this world that feels the most real, where all of a sudden you're questioning, has this whole thing been in Reggie's head? Did the Tall Man bring Reggie to an alternate dimension where Reggie just has dementia? And he did experience this stuff, but he experienced it in a different timeline, different world. I don't know. But in this world, it's sad. Mike visits his friend, like, once a week, it kind of sounded like. And Reggie would kind of slip in and out of thought and stream of thinking to these various timelines. And it kept jumping and jumping back and forth. I don't know, if you took a drink every time that switched time, you would possibly be pretty trash, and this is only like an 80-minute movie. But I don't know, the scene, there's many scenes that got to me. I think my favorite had to be where Reggie talked to the Tall Man while they were in their hospital beds. Apparently, in real life, they disagreed on the dialogue and had some heated conversations, but they got through it. And sadly, this is the last film that Angus Scrimm's in. He saw it right before he died. I don't know, days or weeks before he died. And eventually, Jody shows up in this world, and they're both, Mike and him hold Reggie's hands while he looks to be dying, but then Reggie's in the back seat of the Barracuda, and the Barracuda's now this badass post-apocalyptic fucking thing out of like the new Dawn of the Dead or some shit like that. It's got some fucking twin Gatling guns, and it's kind of like this weird peaceful happiness, so you don't know what's real. It reminded me a lot of the Walking Dead episode where Tyrese dies, because Tyrese is dying and he's in the backseat and he's having all these weird memories and stuff. It's very similar to that. And we kind of end it in the Red World, in the Barracuda. And Rocky makes an appearance. Chunk appeared to sacrifice himself by exploding himself on the Tall Man, but he comes out of a portal. He's missing a fucking hand, but, otherwise he's good. He's trying to grab Rocky's tits. Everybody's in the Barracuda. They drive off, and, we're all have fucking Independence Day Part 3.
Wait, are you telling me there's an after credits scene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking completely missed that.
Stop it.
Oh, you missed him grabbing her tit?
You missed Rocky.
I missed
Dude,
Rocky.
it was like 20 seconds
and Chuck
in.
grabbing her tit.
Yeah, so Trump makes it out alive. He crawls out. He's missing a hand. And he makes a joke like, the funny thing about grenades is that you get amputated and cauterized at the same time, which I thought was kind of a good line. And yeah, they kind of just, I don't want to say drive off into the sunset, but that's the last thing, is that they're in the red world, and fuck, man, I'm going to just leave the floor open to you guys. What was real and what wasn't real, and was there actually... Did Reggie get put into an alternate dimension so he did have dementia? Or did all of these things actually happen?
That is a good question. I will say... I agree with what you say about the dementia, or I like the fact that they gave him dementia, and they really lean into this movie took way too long to be made, and they're all old now, with the hospital bed scene, and him having dementia, and him being kind of like the quirky old man picking up the hitchhiker girl. Like, it's not even close to, she's not even close to as interested as she would have 20 years ago, or someone would have been in Reggie 20 years ago. And he seems a lot more harmless in that regard in this one, even before Me Too. I don't know what happened. As I was telling Chris in between episodes, like, it's hard to put together all of the things that do make it into the film. I did get goosebumps though when they were in the back of that muscle car, the CUDA. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's sad, right? Like, that was an actual stomach punch sad moment.
I actually
fucking not
no,
sad,
but I had
fish,
I had some really I had a little bit of feelings, like almost goosebumps, but it was more than I thought, because it is mostly feels like a bad movie. It's not directed by Don Coscarelli. It is written and produced by him, but it has a way cheaper feel to it than the other ones. Yeah, really, it does. It feels like an unedited version of a sci-fi movie. Like sci-fi could have funded this and probably give them more money, but it wouldn't have had the blood and the full-on violence and language that it has.
It's weird though, like in a a dramatic type movie. Like, this is the most drama we probably get, aside from maybe part one. Like, there's a lot of feelings, but yet then we have this real cheap sci-fi feel that really is such a stark contrast that kind of sometimes feels like it undoes the things that it was trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of what the first one does to itself, without the mirror sequence of Mikey going through the mirror at the end, and that it wasn't a dream. So I have to feel that, of course, these things happened, and maybe through the different. Yeah, I'm about to repeat what you said. The different dimensions give you dementia. That's said so well. Chris, go ahead.
All right. Okay. So, Phantasm Ravager has the dubious distinction of being the cheapest movie I've ever... Like, it feels like they spent less money on this than, like, Sci-Fi does on some of their fucking direct-to-video shit. As Kent was saying, part of the horse scene is, like, one of the most brutal scenes that you get in the entire series. And then there's a part of the scene where Reggie is looking out the barn at the horse, and you can see that the wall that he's looking through is corrugated cardboard that has just been spray painted a reddish-orange color. The 3D effects for the blood shots or the honey mustard shots from the dudes they reminded me of what you saw from the... Hold on, give me 1 second. I have to see what year this came out.
Yeah.
2016?
No, not the movie. What I'm going to compare it to. They look like the blood shots that you got from the 1994 shooting game Revolution X with Aerosmith, or as the one where you would shoot the CDs as your grenades.
In the arcade and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It was that bad. This movie, you can see too that I guess they started filming it in 2008 as a series of shorts, and then finished filming, up to when it was released in 2016. And you can see that there's a difference because, for sure, at the beginning portion when Reggie is wandering through the desert, he is physically younger than he is in several of the scenes where they're going through the dementia portion. So
the camera also looks like a better quality camera for that series, right?
Yeah. You can see places where it goes in and out of being like filmed decent, filmed poorly, filmed decent, filmed poorly. Oh, now we have to shoot this in the dark in a couple hallways in a warehouse in order to, maximize our budget kind of thing. It had the potential to be one of the most, a memorable horror movie, especially if they had managed to do deep reach into dementia, and the lip service is there, but it fails in the end. Like you said, Kent, the first one was like a surreal fever dream. This one just feels disjointed, disjunct. You can see that it was meant to be a web series versus a movie originally, and then it was shuffled together and retconned, and like you said, part of the Red World is supposed to be our world, but then there's another point where they actually go to the Red World, which is, the Red World that you see in portions of 1 and 2. There are times when, shit makes it. There are callbacks, like the music. Good callback. We actually get a couple scenes from the mausoleum used in the first one.
The girl in lavender looked really good for her age. I gotta give her props.
Yeah, for almost what? 30 years later?
It was over.
Yeah, over 30 years later? 79 to
Well, yeah. Depends on when they filmed it,
So, I mean, like Kevin said, Reggie comes off better in regards to, his womanizing. And I felt bad for him, because if he had managed to stay awake for, another 15 minutes, he finally would have fucking gotten some in the series, but... Yep. The old man-itis got him. Which, I don't know, maybe he would have died if he'd been up there with Dawn when she gets got. I don't know. I'm appreciative that we got a finale for the series, but at the same time, it's such a letdown from what we got. And I don't know about you, but I think it's almost safe to say that there's just a steady decline in quality from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like most franchises, except this one only had good backing for one movie, and for what little money there was, they made good use of it, I would say.
For all of them,
But the fact that you said that Angus got to see it before he died, that feels good.
So Undertaker was rumored to be in this movie, and I sit here and I watch, I go, there was no real place for him in this movie, and I wonder if that rumor ever had any substance to it.
Could he have been Demeter, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah. I guess that's really the only role, unless they're going to make him Dawn/Jane. He would have been sexy for that. Dead sexy.
Or one of the gas mask guys.
That'd be kind of a waste of his talent. Kind of like what... that'd be almost more of a waste of his talent than Suburban Commando, one of the greatest movies ever made.
No, that's not as much of a... I remember seeing Suburban Commando. I was such a huge wrestling fan, so it blew my mind to see The Undertaker in that movie and, not have really anything to do. Except
Ginger Taker, nonetheless. That was old school Ginger.
Yeah, so I could see him being one of those guys. But yeah, I guess I know what you mean.
What timeline do you think was... I'm assuming the first timeline that was filmed was Reggie in the desert and meeting Dawn. And then I'm guessing they filmed... I'm guessing they maybe did Red World next, and then they were like, well, we got to tie it together, so now we're going to do this dementia thing? Do you think that's the process?
I don't know, though, because, like, part of Meeting Dawn looks like it's shot on the one camera, and then, like, the portion when he goes to the barn looks like it's shot on another camera.
So maybe the early stuff was just part of the web series shot with the good camera, and then they're like, well, we have something. We got to only halfway done. Let's use the shitty camera to finish it out.
And considering, like, to go to an earlier question that you had, I don't know what the fuck is going on at the end, but what I would like to pretend happens is when Mike is talking about the whole theory about multiverses, you know, being stacked on top of each other and being able to, like, in one multiverse,
membrane thing?
Yeah, in the membrane theory. In one of those universes, Reggie is still alive in the back of the Hemicuda with, Jodie and Mike, and in another one, Reggie dies from dementia, just from age combined with the complications from the dementia, and Jodie and Mike are there for him. So, in one universe, it's over, it's done, but in another one, they're still continuing their adventures against the tall man, kind of thing.
Alright, so I did make a note. Could the dementia timeline have been, so, mid to, I don't know, whatever, like, middle of the movie, like, tall man gives him the ultimatum, like, hey, I can bring your family back, you just gotta get the fuck out of my way, we're gonna go back to 79, and, just, you get your family, just leave me with the boy. And he said, basically, he's like, if you keep getting in my way, something bad will happen. So I'm wondering if dementia timeline is like tall man living up to his I'm gonna fuck you over, since tall man can control all fucking space and time and whatever.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know. That was like the best theory I could come up with the dementia thing, was that was just because Reggie refused to go along with the premise. It's so weird. I wish this wasn't the final movie. I liked the ending. I liked seeing Reggie ride off in the Barracuda. Like, that felt right. But simultaneously, this franchise deserved a better finale.
I like the ending, but it feels like it's left open for yet another one. And you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
And they all do that, and we don't get one for like way down the road. But from where the beginning of 5 starts, and then all of that stuff, the dementia, the Red World, and Mikey's got a gun, and Mike's got a gun, and they're like, this underground, like, rebellion. Where it ends, I was surprised. The horse thing, which was pretty cool, also my favorite kill. I didn't see that coming either, and so this movie got major points, like, but it was bad. It was confusing, or didn't really flow in together. Like the small, it was slow. Like, and like there was cool scenes, but it was pretty slow, and the CGI, looked worse than the CGI they used in '94. How?
Yeah, I don't know. It was bad.
Yeah.
I credit it to the director, because Don Coscarelli would have shot it on the same shitty camera, but he would have made like the scenes look more interesting. There would have been more camera movement. It would have had, but he's like, I'm just gonna put the money up and write it, and see what someone else does. David Hartman.
Yeah. This was the last writing credit that he has as of right now, Coscarelli. Although Bubba Nosferatu Curse of the She-Vampires is in development, supposedly. I liked everything that just came out of my mouth. Awesome. So here's another question that probably goes along with like Hospital still being going. So apparently, like, Reggie at one point is in a dimension where they're making like new guns and stuff? Because a lot of his weapons looked very quote unquote modern.
Oh, I loved how like we see him pulling out all of his weapons, and none of them are any of the weapons, with the exception of the one pistol that we've seen him carrying in any of the movies before. Like
it's all modern, right?
He jumps into the portal with his quad shotgun, and then he's wandering around and he doesn't have it until the very end when was it Mike or Jody tosses it to him?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Mike tosses it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get creative with the weapons except for the machine gun muscle car that Jody shows up to in the very end. That's like the only real, and they didn't even use the 4-barrel shotgun.
I mean, he does to shoot the doctor and the 2 nurses who are now lurkers behind him.
Well, yeah, we had to do that.
I'm like, I wonder if he was really shooting lurkers or if he just fucking murdered, like his doctor and the 2 nurses.
Right? he murdered the doctor and the 2 nurses. I'm pretty convinced of that, even though I'm not quite sure how you're going to explain how he got a gun out of thin air, but at this point, explaining things... I mean, at one point, and this tells me that the director didn't fucking get the content, because at one point, I want to say it was Girl in Lavender, when she gets shot, she has the honey mustard and she has blood, red, coming out of her. That, you never saw that the whole franchise until that very moment. That tells me they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, to explain everything away, I'm going to give you my best line. It's from Reggie in this. Books I don't need. A fucking 4-barrel shotgun is more like it. And that explains the complete story, all the plot holes. All the plot holes in this series. And I'm okay with that. And in reality, what you were saying, Kent, like, where did the 4-barrel shotgun come from? Like, and why wasn't it in his trunk before, which Chris was talking about. Like, in reality, you think he's just like an old folks home with like 4 plungers taped together, just like running around.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he may have just like picked up a stick and like turned around like bang bang, like just like I don't know what.
I love that picture.
It goes from Cronenberg to Lynch, one David to another. Yeah,
there you go.
I like the ending.
Also, Reggie had nunchucks.
Yes,
at the end,
and doesn't use them.
Yes, and a katana.
Yeah,
I don't know where that came from.
Oh, and what the? What, all right, I love
how worked up you're getting now.
All right, so like they're in the hospital and Reggie like walks through and like all of a sudden at the end of the hallway is just this cave or cavern, and then like the ceiling falls in and now he's like on a floating rock with the tall man. And how the hell is one supposed to? Where are we supposed to take
it? Does feel like a dream sequence in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where it just goes from one thing to another, and it's worth revisiting now with these questions.
Trust me, I came in with a lot of these questions. I walk away. The dream sequence, you bring up Nightmare on Elm Street, and I hate to reference this, but it does feel like the opening sequence in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where the bus is on the spire at the end there.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking even some of the stuff in, like, the Dream Warriors in the Asylum. I guess maybe, like, where it kind of, like, goes into... And actually any of them, like, 4, where it, like, where they... I think it's, like, where he's, like, the Karate Kid, the brother, right? Like, and then, like, the added death sequence, because they didn't, I don't know what they were going to do with it. Or maybe it wasn't him, but, like, doesn't he, like, it just goes from one setting to another very quickly, and all of a sudden you're in the, we're in the caverns or whatever from the mausoleum to, where you're all of a sudden back to the basement of the hospital or in Nightmare on Elm Street, the asylum.
The thing is, they really this movie tried with the dementia, and I assume like they had a rough idea of dementia, and that's why they kept trying to flip the time and make it so strange. I wish if they were going to tackle the dementia thing, I wish they would have delved a little deeper. I think they could have actually had a movie had they dived a little deeper into the dementia.
It was a good idea, but it was never fleshed out. But it leaves enough for it to the movie can stand on its own without actually having to make sense.
Movies making sense. That's not our forte here.
It's fun. It was a fun way to end it. It is almost so the way about it. I don't want to disrespect anyone who loves this movie or made this movie because there's a level of it that I'm almost it's kind of embarrassing that they're making it right. They got the whole band back together, but they're playing cover songs at the country bar. It feels like but at the same time, I love it and I respect that they like created this thing and they way too late, 2016. People, the toxic fans that probably hate this fucking movie were the only ones to ask for it. I give this a letter grade of a B because it's a solid B film, and honestly, I thought it was going to be worse production wise. It's worse than, say, Freddy's Dead or Jason Goes to Hell. But in some ways, it's not as silly as some of those, and it's pretty fun. And they did really, really try with the dementia thing. Not hard enough, but they definitely did add something, and I felt like every movie they did add things, even if they're not completely cohesive or coherent.
What was the best scene? The opening where he fucks up the dude that steals his car. Was that
no? That the Reggie and the tall man in the hospital beds because they really commit to like they're way too old to be doing this, and then. He lifts up the hospital bed, and then we get the lavender lady, which is, I guess, in this sense, not actually the old man can turn into it. She is this other thing. Or was that all just a dream? But yeah, I loved that scene. It was really well done. We get to see Angus Scrimm act in it. I wish they used more with Rocky in it because they had her at the end, or at least I felt like the scene was even going to go a little bit further rather than just getting in the car. So
she would have been a cool addition to the Rebels early on. Like she didn't need to be a surprise at the end. She could have been there the whole time and would have added some extra flavor that was sorely missing from that timeline.
Yeah, it would have put it to another level.
So I'll tell you a quick thing. So last time I saw this was probably about 2 years ago, maybe even a little longer. And afterwards, I watched it with my friends Tom and Kaylee, and afterwards I went out to the kitchen, and we'd had a good laugh at one of the early lines. And on my little whiteboard on my fridge, to this day, it still says in large letters, Rocket Pop. Because that was something that... Reg said, I don't know, probably like first 10, 15 minutes. And that line, I don't know why that stuck with us, but I have not erased Rocket Pop for well over 2 years. I don't even know if it can be erased from the whiteboard at this point. It may
at this point, it's probably there permanently.
And I'm okay with it. Like, that's my homage to Phantasm Ravager. So, yeah, this is... I don't know. This has to be considered the worst of the movie, but there is charm to it. Yeah, I guess
they tried. I'll give them that. They tried.
There was effort and there was love by the actors. The actors definitely put their all in it.
It is like I said before. It's a mixture of embarrassment and being like impressed at the same time. And yeah, it definitely has its charm. It's got the DIY, energy from the first one, um, much later on, but yeah, it's the it's definitely, I think it's the weakest of it. I think my favorite would be number three, number second favorite, number one, the original. Three would be number two, and then four and five. Three, one, two, four, five. And overall, yeah, I did. It was kind of
You
like
like horror?
quintessential in the fact that it was direct to video, but it was like made with a somewhat real budget, 2.5. Um, Overall, I think the series is probably a B plus. Um, what do you guys think of the series as a whole? Because not only just this movie, but like compared to other franchises.
It's hard. It definitely, like I said before, it goes downhill as you go. Um, it's its own thing, though. It's non-derivative. I mean, I'll give it that. For the most part, what you're seeing is stuff pretty unique to horror. Um, it's very influential. I'm glad we took the time to do this. I had seen the first couple, and I hadn't seen the latter two, and it had been years since I had watched them in the first place. So I'm glad we took the time to do this. Yeah, I wish more people knew about it, especially at least the first one, in order to have more discussion about that, and get it included in more lists. Like, I think it probably might have been able to make like our hidden gems when we were doing that one back in the day, Kent. Except we don't think of it as a hidden gem because we saw it, and we like it. But comparing it to the public perception of what's out there for horror, again, you rarely see this being mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of like, everybody that sees Cube likes Cube. Everybody that sees Session 9 likes Session 9. I just feel that more people saw Phantasm than those other two, but probably not by much. I'm curious, do you guys think... to answer Kevin's question, obviously I'm a fan of it, or else, this wouldn't have been my choice for a franchise. So this is my fault if anybody didn't like these podcasts. Blame me.
I mean, compared to other major franchises, though.
I don't.
Like,
all right, it's in the top 20 horror franchises for me, and it's probably higher up because the first three movies are well above average. And you look at horror franchises that hit like, I don't know, 6 to 8 movies. How many horror franchises even have 3 movies that you would consider good? I would consider Oblivion still good and watchable. So this, as a franchise, this holds up, especially if you consider percentage of movies that are good.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the quality really falls off to the point where I would say it was a bad movie until 5, which unfortunately is the end. But yeah, even Oblivion, I would have given it a C, or like a 70 something. I liked Oblivion more than I liked like Nightmare on Elm Street 5 and 6. But I like those both better than, I like even the worst like Nightmare movie better than Ravager.
Do you guys think, this is probably my last big question here, do you think at some point or another some studio is going to try to take the chance and reboot this franchise?
Can they? I mean, do they have the
reboot?
rights?
Yeah.
I think they'd have to buy them from, I assume Don owns most of the rights. I don't know about Phantasm 2. I assume Universal still does. So I would guess Universal would probably be the company that would make the most sense. But I don't know. Do you think?
Oh, if he's beefing with Universal, though, who knows? But yeah, that's where you get all of Universal's Peacock, and that's what they're on. with the exception of 2.
Which is funny, right?
Yes, because that's the one that they own the rights to.
Like, are they embarrassed of the one that they actually own? I think at some point or another.
Is it a spite thing? They're like, we didn't release it in theaters. We're not putting it on Peacock.
We have way too many shitty movies on Peacock. We don't need another one, even though we own it. Fuck you. Like,
even though we have the other 4.
I'm hoping maybe it'll take Don actually dying and the rights go to his kids, and maybe somebody. Once again, this is assuming that Don is the owner. I have no idea, but whoever the owner is, I think at some point or another, somebody's going to have the idea. You can make the original Phantasm on a low budget. Like, it doesn't have to be as low as the original, of course, or the equivalent, I should say, but...
Or the last one.
I mean, how much money do you really think it would take to remake Phantasm in today's money? It would probably be... You could do that well on, I don't know, $5 million or less?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but, like, which... I don't know, would it lose its charm with that much money? You know, like, would it work with, say, the budget that, I don't know how much the Hellraiser reboot was?
I think that's a pretty good comparison right there. Hellraiser probably had a little bit more in its budget, but I think that's a pretty decent starting point, or go just a little lower. I don't know, what are you really paying for? There wasn't a lot of sets. Like, there wasn't a lot going on in Phantasm. Like, they keep revisiting the same places by and large.
Well, they would have to improve it, I think. You know, yeah, you're right. There's like a mausoleum, and then there's like a house or a hotel or
the bar and the antique shop.
Yeah, the car and yeah.
Like, maybe their budget might go for like one good actor. I don't know. I mean, replacing Angus Scrimm is the end-all be-all question above everything else. You have to have somebody that can play that role.
Tony Todd?
Yeah. They have that look.
Dude, that'd be freaking awesome.
I think it would have to be someone... I think it would have to be a discovery, like, where someone who... not a non-household name. Which I guess I'm saying that Tony Todd is, but he's got a lot more I think it would have to be a discovery, but, you know.
If Stephen Lang was taller, I think he could actually do it, but he's...
older, too, if he was older.
Isn't he pretty old at this point?
He is. I don't think he's old enough to do the tall man.
Fair enough.
I don't know. He's
go watch EFW, Kevin, and come back to me on that.
I think just... it's such a silent part.
Let's put it like this.
You want someone that you haven't heard a lot
Angus,
from.
Angus Scrimm was 53 when he did the first Phantasm.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how old Stephen Lang is. I don't know. I can't.
He was born in 52.
So he's
older.
Yeah, he's way older at this point.
He's 70. No, he's 71. No.
Who?
Stephen Lang is 71.
Wow.
So
okay. All right. I take that back.
I still want you to go see VFW, Kevin, but now for more entertaining purposes.
Yeah. So, I want to add something. So I'm on one of my movie pages on Facebook, movie groups on Facebook. The question was best third installment of any franchise, and I watched Phantasm 3 that day. So I wrote, I watched Phantasm earlier today, and it was pretty great. I don't know if it's the best third installment, but I did think, and it got quite a few looks, and people were like, first thing that was written was one of the most underrated movie series is Phantasm. So it has its fans, and it has, and it was kind of surprising, just in generally of of the big franchises and it being on your top 20. I would say it definitely is, but I remember just, this was something that I always kind of forgot about. And then when I watched Phantasm 6 years ago, or maybe even 4 years ago, is when I first, maybe even less than, but yeah, it was when I first started working at the shelter, and I worked overnights, and you could sleep. So I saw that Phantasm was on Vudu, the with commercials, and that's how I watched it. Uh, you know, rewatching it at night, and I was, you know, really impressed with it, and was excited to go through and watch the other two, and now to watch all five of them in a week. That was, puts
Yeah,
it to a whole other level, because I usually wait a year to watch the next one, because sometimes, we watched all five of them, and five was, didn't really. It would have been rougher. I don't know. I don't know if it was rougher to watch it like within the week, or if it would have been rougher if we didn't do Nightmare on Elm Street, which was 9 movies.
yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, it was. I tried to go in with the best spirit. Yeah, it does suck that it wasn't at least just a little bit better with the directing and the cinematography and the strength to it. But I think it was pretty good for a series that seems like it's been, you know, kicked down, kicked while it's down, its entire run.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our reviews of Phantasm. You guys got anything just in general that you want to talk about since the last one that we've done?
Kevin?
Oh, all right. I've been doing the DC movies. I've been watching all of I'm watching every single one. So I started with the Batman serials from 1943 and the
Oh,
Batman and
geez.
Robin. Yeah, that was like 3 hours. It's on YouTube. It was pretty cool. Very dated with, towards the Japanese after, I'm guessing after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Like it had its political, stance in that, but that's kind of like what Captain America did back in the day, what they did with those comic books, but definitely not as dated as this probably was. But Batman and Robin was pretty good, um, which was 1949, and those were the first, some of the first comic book. I mean, I think Captain America had a serial in the 30s. Um, but besides that, I don't know. So it's kind of cool as like a film history type thing to go through, and then uh, what was after that would have been, was it Wonder Woman? Um, I'm missing something. Yeah, Superman and the Mole Men from the 1950s, which was a 1 hour film, which is the first theatrical superhero movie. That was kind of cool. Have you guys seen that with George Reeves?
No.
It has a quirky
No.
B horror film.
I saw the. I didn't see the original, but I saw the story they made about. What
Yeah,
was it, Hollywoodland?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So the Mole Men movie, it was cool. It was all right. And then the Batman with Adam West TV show, that was fun. And then the two Wonder Woman movies, I have these extra Amazon credits, so I watched the 74 failed TV pilot where I forgot her name, but and then the next year they did another TV movie, which is actually the pilot to the Linda Carter series in 1975. So um, they're they're both cool. I don't know if I'm going to continue to watch the whole Wonder Woman series, but uh, it's been fun to go from like the 40s to the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, and next will be Superman by Richard Donner with Christopher Reeve. So I haven't seen that since I was a kid, and I'm like, it's sort of the reason I decided to do this, because I've been like, like coming in 2017, like I'm gonna catch up with all these Marvel movies. I'm gonna catch up with all these DC movies. So to finally do that, now it's like, man, I do want to watch, like, I don't know, the original Superman movies, but because I felt so behind, but Yeah, so I'm
It's
like,
been a while
and
since I've watched them.
I'm really excited. I know that, like, Marlon Brando was in the first Superman movie. I think people forget that sometimes. Um,
Who
yeah.
was he?
He played his dad.
So
Oh,
yeah. So I'm excited for that. That's my
Hawkins.
big like cinema, like his film history obsession, where it'll keep me busy for a while. And there's so much of it, and I'm excited because Swamp Thing is coming up, and I haven't seen that in a really, really long time. Yeah, with
Yeah,
Wes
yeah. It's been a
Craven
long time since I've seen
directed,
that too.
so that's it's cool, and I don't even remember that these were DC Comics, so there's a couple stretches in there, but I'll see what I can get in there. Uh, for new movies, I did not see Asteroid City yet, but I did see Mission Impossible 7 in the theater. Did you guys by chance get a chance to see that, legally or illegally?
I haven't been to the
Um,
theater in a while
you
yet.
guys like the
No,
Mission
so
Impossible movies? Dude, this is so
I
good.
fucking love them.
It's so good.
I,
It like
yeah.
actually lives up to the Rotten Tomatoes score of like 96 or 97. I was like, it's probably not that good because some of the 5 and 6 were higher scored and they were good, but I don't know. I really like 3 a lot, and usually the odd number ones are the better ones. 1, 3, 5.
From my perspective, and I love the whole series.
Yeah,
Like, I think four is
I
the
think 2
weakest.
is the weakest. And well,
Well, two two is a very specific movie, though. Like if you're not a fan of
John Woo?
what the hell's his name? Yes, thank you. If you're not a John Woo fan, you're not going to like it, especially if you like coming from Brian De Palma. But if you're a John Woo fan, it's like a great example of a
Of
John
that
Woo
time,
movie.
yeah, I guess so. But I mean, like, I think even some
So,
John Woo fans weren't even happy with
yeah.
that one. Um, but it is, yeah. So I watched it not that long ago, and I didn't like it, and then I saw it in the hotel, and I saw it in parts, and I was like, it's so bad, it's good, and like the bad action but fun, over the top. It's pretty ridiculous though. It's the least serious. I think 4 is probably the most overrated one though. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Mission Impossible 7 rules. So it was the first time I saw a Mission Impossible movie in the theater, uh, or even the first time, and I was actually blown away by it and not, I don't know. I thought it was going to be good, but it was great. Uh, so I was definitely worth checking out. Worth the 3 hours, to see it in the theater too. It's a long time for an action movie, but yeah, that's what I've been up to more or less. So
I personally haven't seen anything new. Um, well, I've been watching TV. Like I finally caught up on Justified, and I'm all caught up on City Primeval so far. That's basically been it. I've been playing a lot of video games, like between Remnant 2 coming out and then Baldur's Gate 3 releasing, like week by week, back to week. I've been doing a hell of a lot of just that and catching up on some of my reading that I fell behind on too. So that's where most of my stuff has been, besides watching Phantasm stuff this week. I am curious if you guys have seen any of either what are the 3-4 movies that are out now? Talk to Me.
Demeter one, The Last
Cobweb,
Voyage of
and
Demeter.
shit. What's the third one? Yes. If you guys have seen any of those three.
No, I
What
want
was
to
the
see
other one?
Demeter, and I wanted to see Talk to Me.
Cowboy. I haven't even heard of
At
that.
least, I just haven't.
Cobweb. It's got Anthony Starr and Lizzie
Yeah,
Kaplan.
no, I don't know that one.
And
I'll add to the list. Add to the list.
Is it in theater?
Talk to Me.
Yeah, it's in theaters right now.
It's an A24 horror film. I'm interested in it, but no.
Yeah. All three of them I've seen good reviews for, and all three of them I've also seen.
My dad texted me today. He went and saw The Last Voyage of Demeter, and he was telling me about it. He said it was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as he was hoping it was going to be, because that's kind of like, that's the kind of horror films he really likes. There's like, I want to say throwback to Universal, but it is the original Nosferatu, and he was excited for the story. I think he said it dragged a little bit. I'm probably putting words in his mouth, but that was kind of what I read from it. But still well done. So.
Gotcha. What about you, Kent?
All right, so I've kind of done a lot of like you with the fucking video games, because this is the greatest video game calendar year possibly ever. I mean, at least since the SNES Genesis days, like every month insane. It seems like something.
And shit, we got Starfield and Lies of P next month. Yeah,
dude. Like, I never even got a character to 100 in Diablo. Like, I liked the game, but eventually I was just like, I feel like I'm just grinding for the sake of grinding. And when Remnant came out, I was just like, oh, this is... A, it's more challenging, and B, I'm having more fun trying to, like, figure out the secrets. Like, me and Eric have played a lot on, like, afternoons and weekday, and... Usually, I since he won't be hearing this, I can give him credit. Usually he's a better gamer, and usually probably better at figuring out puzzles. But this is my fucking wheelhouse.
You've been carrying him? Like you're saying you're the one who's carrying Eric?
No, he's still playing better than me. Oh. I'm figuring out the secrets, though. Gotcha. So I got the intellectual going on. No, we're probably... we're probably about even, I guess. So, yeah, that's been a lot of fun. I mean, I haven't even had a chance to play a lot of Lawnmower Simulator, and that's bringing me down. That's usually my chill thing. But aside from games, actually just today, I feel that both of you will appreciate, I just got 4 Rooms. It was on sale for $5.
Did they?
I was like...
Did they misbehave?
It's such a good DVD? Movie that, I don't know, digital? I feel like doesn't ever get enough appreciation. So to see it for $5, I was like, yes, I'll definitely buy it. As far as digital, it's on Vudu for the weekend for $5. There's other things, but I was like, nothing's better than 4 Rooms on this maybe list. So, I watched 2 series. I watched Killing It, which is on Peacock. I only ended up watching it because it was on after Monday Night Raw, and my DVR picked up the whole damn thing, and I was busy playing on my computer, and suddenly I was like, I don't even find Craig Robinson all that funny, but the show kind of got me, so I ended up just binge watching it over 24 hours on Peacock, and I'm not recommending it. I will say, if you want, try the first episode. It may draw you in, it may not. It's just kind of an uneven series. Some episodes are funny as hell, and other ones kind of just lull. But it's getting a second season, so I guess maybe people probably liked it probably more than I did. There's an Australian girl that's clearly like the star of the show as far as I'm concerned. But immediately after that, I didn't stop it after the 10th or 8th episode. I think it was 10 episodes. And Twisted Metal just started playing. That is a series I'm not asking people to watch it, I'm demanding people watch it.
Really?
If you like this podcast, then fucking watch Twisted Metal. Take fucking 5 hours of your life or whatever, and just watch the fucking series. Have a great time. Appreciate Anthony Mackie for being as funny as he is. Fucking appreciate Samoa Joe as Sweet Tooth with what's his
Joe
face?
Bluth.
God, I can't remember who does his voice now.
Shit. Is it Will? What's his name?
Arnett.
Yeah.
Will Arnett. Yeah, it's just a really good. If you like, I don't know if any of you ever watched on Sci-Fi. I don't even know how long ago it was. It was probably within the past decade. It was something called Blood Drive. This is similar, but it has a bigger bigger names and, probably a little bit more identifiable storyline. Still, highly recommend Twisted Metal. I actually want to go back and rewatch it. That's how much I enjoyed it. As far as movies go, I just watched Super Mario Brothers 2. Yeah, like last Sunday. Watched it. It was good. I'm glad I didn't drop $15 to buy it. Like, it's a movie I'll watch again at some point, but it was good. It just, I don't know. I think a lot of people overhyped it, and it was just a perfectly good, entertaining movie. It wasn't anything above expectations. It wasn't below expectations. It was spot on, and I had a good time with it. I'm happy I saw it. And when it hits, I don't know, $6 or $7, I'll probably buy it then. Watched Feast again. That movie's still okay, but, it's starting to feel like a movie that is of its time frame, which was like the early to mid-2000s. Still fun, but a little dated at this point. And finally, that same night we watched Feast, we watched on Shudder a Korean movie, I want to say, called The Sadness. If you really like, ultra violence and some really fucked up shit.
Yep, I do. Tell me about it.
I mean, Kevin, anytime that a guy can take a woman who has her eye cut out because he cut her eye out, and then later on finds her and then literally fucks her eye socket, I think I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking in terms that you can appreciate here.
What's this called again? The Sadness?
The Sadness. It's on Shudder.
Okay. 2021, huh?
It's like a rage
it a new?
virus. Yeah, it's like 2022, I want to say, came out. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's a rage virus, though, where I feel like the people infected still have, like, some kind of memories, so it's not like 28 days later, for example.
Yeah.
But these people do go crazy. They lose their shit. I'm not going to sit here and say it's great, but if you just want a batshit, violent, crazy-ass movie with a rage virus, you know, this is a fun little treat if that sort of movie appeals to you.
Dude, it was written and directed by a dude named Rob Jabbis.
It was, yeah.
Jabbis.
6.4 on IMDb, which is pretty good.
For a movie like that, that's really good, I would say, because a lot of the stuff people usually just shit all over. But
89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's like B+, almost A- territory. And
dude, it's fun.
For Shudder, and I love this, Shudder gives it a 4.4 out of 5, which is like, they're like, this is really good. Like almost near perfection. Almost near.
Yeah, like, it's slightly better than Skinamarink. Slightly.
Oh, no, it's got to be way better than Skinamarink. Skinamarink is no longer the worst film I've seen of the year. Actually. Which, it's not that that I think it's a bad movie. It's just not a really good movie, and it was kind of, like, overrated, and it's, I don't know, like, I like movies that are slow and kind of do experimental things for, like, a low budget, but yeah, the movie that was worse than it is The Locksmith. I saw it on Hulu with Ryan Felipe, Ving Rhames, and Kate Bosworth. It's just so bland, generic kind of crime thriller, like what you would see in like the 90s, early 2000s, but like just bland.
When was the last time Ving Rhames was, like, actually relevant, I guess? Because I love Ving Rhames, but...
Every single time Mission Impossible movie.
I was just going to say it last Sunday when I saw Mission Impossible. It was great.
Shit, okay, I've only ever seen one... I think, like, the first 6 or 7, because I got them dirt cheap, but I've only seen part 2, I think.
Oh my god, Kent, what the fuck? We just literally got through saying that that's like one of the 2 weakest ones in the series.
I went with some college friends. That was the year I went to like the theater like every fucking week, and that was a week I didn't really have a say in it. So it was like, oh, okay, Tom Cruise movie. Yeah.
Dude, did we see it together? It came out in 2000. I was still living up there then.
I mean, that's entirely possible.
Did we go with like Eric? I kind of thought
like
that was
happened.
It might have been, but
that's entirely possible. I definitely remember seeing it. I was just like, okay, like I'll go along. Like I mean, it didn't look like it was a bad movie. It just usually I have like my set of criteria when I go to a theater for what I want. But if I don't have a say in it, then I'm usually good with going ahead with things. I've never really thrown a hissy fit. I've been pissed off a few times, mainly at What Dreams May Come and In Dreams, the two Dream movies.
Dude.
Fuck them both.
What Dreams May Come was a letdown. I didn't think it was like super horrible, but it looked like it was going to be so much better than it was. In Dreams, I still don't know what the fuck I watched.
I don't either. I watched them both one time, and I walked out of the theater, not like raging bad, but I was like, you know, if there was ever a time I could just request my money back for dissatisfaction.
In Dreams? You saw it in the theater?
Yeah, I saw both Dream movies in the theater.
What Dreams May Come was way overrated. Like, some people, it's like their favorite movie, like one of their favorite Robin Williams movies. And I didn't feel it. It did have, you know, a visual aspect to it that I could see. I think that's what kind of like glossed people over with it, but
the trailer was good. The trailer made it seem like it was going to be a much better movie, in my opinion, which is what a trailer should do, don't get me wrong, but it had Max von Sydow. Of course I was pumped. You know, it took... Funny, this is true story. It would take until Paranormal Activity came out to then replace worst movie I saw in a theater. And why this is relevant is because I was in the middle of Phantasm 3 or 4 at that point. I was watching with my friend Ron. We were doing a marathon, and we talked ourselves into Paranormal Activity instead of finishing the Phantasm franchise as it was.
That's a terrible, terrible idea.
Oh, yeah. I have plenty of regrets. That's really high up on that list. But yeah, that's what I've seen, and... On a funny note, Chris, I think I have found a Christmas gift for you.
Oh, interesting.
That just screamed Chris.
Does it say Chris on it somewhere?
It says Christmas.
I'll have to check. I saw it. I was like, I can't believe this fucking thing exists. All right. So
interesting.
That was my response upon seeing that it existed. So. That's all you need to know.
Well, thank you. That's nice to know.
You're not going to be thanking me after.
Oh.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a giant praying mantis, I'll be good.
No, believe it or not, it's not that.
Okay, cool. Okay, I can live with that then. All right. Well,
I did see...
Anything else we want to get into?
A Shudder original a new movie, Consecration, with Jenna Malone and Danny Houston. It was okay. It's on the bottom 4. It looked like it was going to be better. Consecration.
What's it called? Dude, I just watched American Horror Story Freak Show for just something to do while playing Remnant, and Danny Houston, well, he's more relevant in the 3rd season, but he was still in it, and he's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's all right in it. He's good. He's not like, you know, he's not like 30 Days a Night great, which is one of my favorite performances of him. Yeah, and he really made there's a lot of elements. I really like that movie too, and actually it's the movie that like made me remember Danny Houston, because when I'd hear his name I'd be like, who's that guy? And I'd be like, look at his movies, be like, nope, 30 Days a Night, all right, I remember him. Oh God.
I have to ask, did either of you guys ever watch like a season of American Horror Story?
The first season.
Okay. I watched a little bit on and off, because my wife, it was one of the ones where she started it, and I was like, just like, the parts of the first season I saw, I was like, this doesn't look like something I'd be, like, it's on my Hulu to go back and watch it, because enough people, like, I've saw your podcast, or not your blogs about it, and enough people have said stuff over the years that it sounds like it's at least worth a watch. But,
yeah, I mean, my experience is that everybody has, like, their own different, like, top 3 seasons. I guess I was just asking because one of the weird things that would probably venture into spoiler territory is that somebody in one of the seasons has wooden legs, but they do close-ups, and at least twice in the season, they did close-ups where the ankle was bending, and this takes place, like, in the 1940s, so I can't imagine, like, there was, like, much of a swivel for the ankle. And I've been dwelling on this for well over a week, trying to figure out, like, what the purpose behind it was. So if anybody's listening and watched Freak Show, contact me. Let me know what the fuck's going on with the fucking wooden legs and the ankles being able to bend the way that they do. Because you don't just show a close-up of that. Like, you could just cut that out. What was that?
I saw parts of Freak Show. Was Neil Patrick Harris in that?
Yeah, he's in, like, the last 2 episodes.
My girlfriend at the time when that was out was watching it, so I saw parts of it, and I watched. It seemed interesting. I always heard that season 2 is not very good, but I would probably love it. That's what I've heard. They're like, I bet you would like it, like that, and I'd be like, oh, and then they'd be like, Coven's cool, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, is that the one you told me I should watch? They're like, no, I told you to watch the one that I wouldn't like, that I didn't like. I was like, oh, that one.
I can see you actually liking Asylum. Wasn't bad, but it's not in my top 3 is season 1, 3, and 5. So Murder House, Coven, and Hotel. But Asylum and Freak Show have their hits and misses, and then the series kind of gets a little tragic.
One,
for a bit.
really?
But with that being said,
because I saw one, and it was, I always heard it was better later on, because I liked one. It was fun. I didn't understand that it was, what is it, an anthology series?
Yeah, it's just a 10 episode.
Yeah, okay, so I didn't understand that, because that wasn't really a big thing back then. I couldn't really think of anything like an anthology where all of the episodes in one season were one thing. I guess Fargo does that, and around the same time, and that's kind of how I make sense of it. Now I understand it, but so when it ended, I just thought, why would I watch it? It has an end. It feels done, and I never quite understood it until, I think Freak Show, and then when that was on, people were telling me,
It hit, like, peak popularity because Jessica Lange was doing her final season of Part 4, and then, like, the series and the regulars started drifting off, like, after Hotel. Like, they did Roanoke, and that season kind of bombed, and they stopped doing it. A lot of them just left. And now we're at a point where Kim Kardashian is starring in the new season, and it looks like shit.
Yeah, I'm really not excited for that one.
No, I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, and I'm not looking forward to this season.
Which season was Lady Gaga in? Because Hotel.
She was in Hotel, and then she was also in Roanoke.
So she won the Golden Globe in Hotel, though. Because everyone, that was like, I remember no one could shut up about how good she was in that.
She was okay, and it just, she was super popular, and everybody's like, oh, she can sing and act? Wow, what a talent.
I like her now. She hasn't really done a lot of movies, or actually a lot since that. Besides, because she is this...
Oh, she did, she did, what's it called? Stars Born.
House of Gucci. That's it.
What was it? House of Gucci? Yeah.
And then...
Yeah. I mean, she has talent. It's just, when she won that stuff, I think it was peak popularity. It was sometimes, how they feel like a little bit of a popularity contest.
She beat Kirsten Dunst for Fargo that year. I was, like, so pissed off about it. It was like...
I'm okay with that. But I haven't seen that season of Fargo. I just don't.
Oh man, dude, she's so good in it. It's like it's unreal how good she is. She really kind of comes into her own. She's not just, I don't know, like this, she's in, I don't know, like the Virgin Suicide she's good in, but she's kind of plays a certain character, but she plays this Midwestern housewife that gets in way over her head with her now husband or baby daddy anyways, Jesse Plemons, as her husband in the show. It's, 2. Yeah,
Which
it's so good. It's
2?
my favorite season of the series, but I haven't made it to 4 yet.
Gotcha.
I'm still working on 3 again, but
gotcha. All right, that's all I got to offer.
Yeah.
I know we're probably just fucking
I'm good
at
too.
this point.
All right, guys. Well, next month, when we come back for episode 50, we'll be going over the series Hannibal. And the month after that, we will be discussing the top horror icons in the horror, genre. Again, thanks for picking this one, Kent. I'm glad we got a chance to revisit some of my favorite horror movies from my youth. And you guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Good night,
You
guys.
too. It's been a pleasure.